We are back again, and make sure today that you are in the chat because we need your help. We need your support on this today because we got some stuff we're going to go through. We are now post draft, and now we are in preseason. I'm going to say preseason for the W Sports Podcast. So we're going to bring you all the NFL news, notes, and ideas. But today, Tubby, we got some hot takes. Okay, Bleacher Report, for what it is, they had a new article of top quarterbacks in the NFL going into this year. And just for the record, this is quarterbacks, top quarterbacks. This wasn't best passers. This wasn't best runners, throwers of the football, whatever phrasing you want to say. Top quarterbacks, and they had my guy, Patrick Mahomes, not at number 2, number 3. They had him at number 4, Tubby. And you tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. He should be number 1. It shouldn't be anybody else. He should be number 1. Chat, I need your help as well. Why are you looking at me like this, man? Come on now.
I agree with the Bleacher Report. I do.
You do not. There's no way.
This is okay. This is where I get what they're saying. I think they're basing it all off of what happened last year. Patrick Mahomes, I think everyone could say Patrick Mahomes had statistically one of his worst seasons. Part of it was due to some of the weapons and all that stuff. I get that. But it's hard to say that he outperformed. And right now, after last season, that he's better than Josh Allen. Lamar, I can maybe give Lamar Jackson because I'm still not completely sold on Lamar Jackson as a quarterback.
Okay.
Yeah, he had his greatest season, but even Joe Burrow, I think Joe Burrow, if we're looking at it last year, was a better player than Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes isn't the best, one of the best players in the NFL, the best winner in the NFL, but if I'm basing it off of last year, I think they got it right.
No, they did not. And here's how I'm going to prove this point. You get one game. What quarterback do you want to be your quarterback in that one game next year?
See, but you're talking about the best winner right there.
No. I'm asking you,
he is the best winner.
This is what the definition should be. What quarterback do you want, Tubby?
That's not the question, though. The question is who's the best quarterback.
You're not answering because you know it's Patrick Mahomes.
I would want Patrick Mahomes, but I'm not saying just because he's 4th doesn't mean I wouldn't want him at the end of the game because he is the best winner in the NFL.
Okay.
I think, ability-wise, he's still probably the best quarterback. But if I'm looking at what we saw last year, I think those 3 guys had a better season than he did. They absolutely did.
No, they better, whatever you're numbers-wise. The Chiefs had one of the best defenses out there, so they ran the ball more. So his numbers are not going to be the same eye-popping numbers. But what I will say, here's the thing. Even the Joe Burrow part, specifically Joe Burrow is okay with taking sacks, and I think that's okay. But what Patrick Mahomes does is he avoids those sacks, and it's not like he's getting 12-yard losses. He's making good plays down the field. He's keeping plays alive. Let's just go back 15 years. What quarterback do you want in a game?
Tom Brady.
15 years.
We're talking
Tom Brady,
15,
right? And you could have said that Drew Brees, or you could have said that Peyton Manning were better. You could have said a couple different guys. And all I'm saying is this is the same thing. Patrick Mahomes is the new Tom Brady, and in any game, he should be, therefore, the number 1 quarterback in the league.
But if you're going based off of that, Tom Brady was never the best quarterback except for maybe 1 or 2 seasons when he had Randy Moss and threw for 50-something touchdowns. He was the best winner. He knew how to win. We always knew that he was always going to win games when it was close. And I think Patrick Mahomes, ability-wise, is better than Tom Brady. But what I'm saying is if I'm basing it off of last year, I'm taking those other 3 guys. And yeah, Burrow didn't make playoffs. We know all that stuff. Lamar Jackson can't win in the playoffs. But
you're over 2 on this.
No, what I'm saying is I think Mahomes is the best winner. And I think skill set wise, he is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. But I'm basing it off of what I saw last year. And I didn't see the best Patrick Mahomes last year. I saw a Patrick Mahomes last year that people questioned at times because he wasn't really putting up the numbers that we are used to seeing Patrick Mahomes put up.
People question Tom Brady time and time again, myself included, thinking this was
Yeah,
we did this. If you go back and look at our early in the podcast history, you will see as questioned. I don't know, is Tom Brady in every stupid year except for last year, he still came back and put his team into a position.
but
And
does
the,
that make him the best quarterback? That doesn't make him the best quarterback. Just because you can put him in the position doesn't mean you're the best quarterback. Tom Brady won that Super Bowl because of his defense. Tom
yeah,
Brady
right.
was awful that year in Tampa. That year they won it in Tampa Bay, Tom Brady was not good. But he won because of his defense. Didn't make him the best quarterback. Many years where they won the Super Bowl with the Patriots, it wasn't just because of Tom Brady. A
Yeah,
lot of it was due to
understandable.
Belichick building up the defense. And I'm not saying that's the same thing with Mahomes. Like I said, I think Mahomes, ability wise, is far better than what we saw from Tom Brady, when it comes to just pure quarterback play. And I think he has an argument, but if I'm basing it off of what I saw last year, I will take those three guys just based off of play alone.
Yeah, I
Over.
hear what you're saying for quarterback play, but if push came to shove and you were picking one quarterback for any game, you wouldn't have picked a single one of those guys. You would have picked Patrick Mahomes. And I understand what you're saying.
No.
Quarterback play, they may have better numbers. The same thing with Peyton Manning and Drew Brees may have been better, as they say on one of my least favorite phrases is passers of the ball. They may have been better, but every time we would have picked Tom Brady because he wins games. And the reason why this matters is you see him show up in one possession games. The only way to beat Patrick Mahomes is you have to be up by 2 scores with like 13 seconds left. If you're up by 1 score and Pat has the ball, he has a chance to win the game. And that to me says he's the best quarterback because he's never out of the game unless you cut the throat. That's all I'm saying.
If that's what you're going off of, then, but we, outside of before Peyton Manning and all of them, you started getting going. Dan Marino was looked at as one of the greatest, if not the greatest quarterback for a long stretch of time because of the numbers he put up, but he never won. So does that, I mean,
Oh,
it
then you
basically,
had to ask yourself in that era, who is the top quarterback? Who's the quarterback that you won in
so,
any game?
so you
And
taking
that's a little
Troy
bit tougher.
Aikman over Dan Marino? I mean, I wouldn't take Troy Aikman over Dan Marino. I would,
See, I don't know. I haven't thought about it
I mean,
enough to tell you a
that's,
definitive answer. I think that's fair because I also think that there's a John Elway element once once that comes along because he was winning games towards that part, but he had an absolutely terrible team in
yeah.
the first half. He was like Michael
And
Jordan
so
in the '80s.
that's what I'm saying. Like, I get winning. Like you said, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes are the greatest winning quarterbacks ever. I think that they are the two guys that you look at when you need it the most. Those are the two guys you can count on no matter what. You can never count them out. But I don't think that just automatically makes you the best quarterback. When I say quarterback, I'm talking about everything, not
I
just the
know, but I
winning
feel like
side
you're
of
saying
aspects.
passer of the ball. I feel like that's what
No,
you're
no, I'm not
qualifying it
saying
as. Like
no
they're
because
better
we know
throwing the
we
ball
know
into the
Patrick
right spot.
Mahomes is a great passer of the ball.
I know,
We know he is.
I know.
Eh, What I'm saying is, if I looked at last year, I'm not taking Patrick Mahomes number one if I'm looking at who was the better player. They had a great record. They made it to the Super Bowl, everything. I get that. But if I'm looking at who was the better player, I'll take Josh Allen. I'll take Joe Burrow.
Okay. I think this is great. We very rarely disagree, and this one there is no way I'm budging. I don't see you budging at any point in time. So here's the thing: we're at tie 1-1 right here. So as you watch this, even if it's not as we're live, please comment, put your thoughts. Tell me I'm crazy. You know what? Tell me I'm biased. I'm wearing the Cardinals hat today. I got the Missouri brand going. Tubby is obviously not a Chiefs fan. He's Packers. Go Pack, go. But all I'm saying is we need some help to tell me that I am absolutely crazy or Bleacher Report and Tubby are crazy. I'm just saying. Just here's the thing: you're going to give Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs just one more reason, a chip on their shoulder to be competitive this year. And I would argue that they are setting themselves up to be in a really good position this year, even so far what they've done in the offseason outside of getting rid of Jordan Taylor.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
you
no,
know what?
I agree.
Yeah.
I
What a
mean,
transition that
we
was.
will always we you can never count out the Chiefs because
Yeah.
of
Thank
Patrick
you.
Mahomes,
Yeah.
because of the winning. The
And
winning,
Andy Reid.
he knows. Yeah, they know how to win. So I'm not expecting a fall off or anything,
Yeah.
but we'll let the chat decide
We'll let the
who's right
chat
and who's
decide.
wrong.
So we really do need your help. So right now, here we're gonna hit pause real quick. So put your thoughts there, but
Mhm.
also if you have not already, hit the subscribe button. We're gonna bring you 2 episodes per week. We have one NFL or football one. As we get closer to the college football season, we'll add some more of that content as well. Maybe even a third episode again. We were doing that last season. And then at the beginning of the week, we're going to continue bringing you baseball news. Yes, that is right. All of the MLB news. We're going to continue to bring that to you. So hit subscribe if you have not already. Now, Tavi, as we go into this last part, I'm going to call it the dead of winter when it comes to the NFL offseason. There's not a whole lot of
Yeah.
exciting stuff that happens outside of mini camps, really,
Yeah.
between now and July. So, what are some of those final touches that you think teams really need to lean in on that maybe they haven't addressed yet, or they were hoping to through trades or even through the draft? That you know what, this is a gap. This is what a team needs to do.
Yeah, so we're talking about teams that are going to contend. I think there's a few that you can look at, like the Buffalo Bills. We talked about Josh
Yep.
Allen. They still desperately need an outside deep threat wide receiver. I don't like the Josh Palmer addition.
No,
I don't
it's
think
not
it
good
really
enough.
moves the needle a whole lot. And the problem is there's just not really that many on the market now. I mean, you could have maybe tried to make a move for T. Higgins if sign and trade type thing, but obviously Cincinnati wasn't letting him out of the state of Ohio. So honestly, there's not a whole lot of directions you can go. The one guy that kind of comes to mind, which it's not a very shiny, beautiful name that most people aren't going to be happy about, but he has a lot of experience in that offense and has a lot of good connections with Josh Allen, and it's going to be Gabe Davis, just because
He did just get
he
released too.
yeah, he just got released. He knows the system. He has that good, relationship with Josh Allen. He's better. He's good at getting deep, and we've seen him put up some big numbers at times in certain games, and do some things. Yeah, it's not going to move the needle a whole lot, but I think it would be much better than what they're going to get from Josh Palmer.
Yeah, just a familiarity too. It doesn't feel
Hmm.
like they've had that. Now they do have some good young talent that they drafted
Yeah,
in the last couple of years, but we'll see. The coaching staff does not typically like the younger guys, so maybe a familiar face, kind of like what Miko Hardman did last year with the Chiefs.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Then I think we got to look at the Detroit Lions. They didn't
I
address
agree.
the edge rushing enough. The defense, they went out and got a defensive tackle, but I don't think it was like the biggest need for them in the draft. They should have really focused on getting another edge rusher outside of Aiden Hutchinson, because we're not quite sure what we're going to get back from Aiden Hutchinson this year after the gruesome leg injury last year. How much is it going to affect him early on in the season? There's a couple names out there that you could, potentially go out and go back, bring maybe Zadarius Smith back in, who ended the season with the Detroit Lions, knows the system. Yeah, he's going to be more of a situational pass rush only type thing to put some heat on the quarterback on third down. There's still one big giant fish out there that could still potentially be traded, and that's Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah, I get to that, and they really do need to find someone else who can bring some pressure, not
Hmm.
only just getting into the backfield, but also to relieve some of the pressure that the constant double teams that Aiden Hutchinson is going to get probably every single play unless they do something different.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Because I mean, Aiden Hutchinson was your leading sacker last year, and he only played 5 games.
yeah. Is there maybe a third or maybe a third team that you think of that's a
Uh,
possibly a legit contender?
Yeah, I think the Green Bay Packers. You still they addressed the wide receiver situation in the draft, going out and drafting the receiver in the first round and in the
Hmm.
third round. I think that they still have a big hole, also like the Detroit Lions, when it comes to the edge rushers. Rashawn Gary kind of had a pretty poor season last year after getting the big contract that he got in the offseason. Didn't really put up the numbers I think Packer fans, or probably the Packer brass, really would hope for. The Trey Hendrickson thing is still, I think, it should be something the Packers should be exploring really hard right now, because I think you throw him on there with Rashawn Gary and what they've done with that defensive line these last couple of years, it could really bring something, you know, dynamic to that defense. And then also they've got to address the corner position. You signed Nate Hobbs, which I didn't like that a whole lot. He's more of just a slot receiver. I mean, slot corner. What's the situation with Jair Alexander? Is he on the team? Do they trade him? Do they cut him? it's still up in the air what's going to happen there. And so I don't really know where you go with that direction. Maybe I had an idea. I know Dolphins are still trying to shop Jalen Ramsey, maybe make a swap Jair Alexander for Jalen Ramsey. Maybe the Packers throw in like a mid round pick also to kind of sweeten the deal, and the contracts would be relatively the same. And if that's not the case, if they're going to look at something free agency wise, I don't quite understand why Asante Samuel Jr. is still out on the market. He
Dude,
is
that
a
doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, I know the size worries a lot of people, but he has shown in his NFL career that the size doesn't matter to him. He is a physical cornerback for a guy that's 5'9", 5'10". He will contest with the biggest wide receivers out there, and I think that's something Jeff Hafley really likes is those physical man covered corners. So I think that would be a great direction for the Packers to go
Yeah.
if they
Well, and
don't do something, make it something big splash.
now, and this is kind of an off the side question here, but when you look at these contending teams, how many legit contending teams would you put a number on it for the AFC and then for the NFC as it stands now? Legit contenders.
So legitimate contenders that I think could win the Super Bowl this year.
Hmm.
Okay, so I think for sure there's two in the NFC. I think the
Hmm.
Eagles and the Lions are. I still have my questions with the Lions because of the edge rushing, but and
But I see it.
some of the yes, some of the turnover with losing the defense coordinator, losing the offense coordinator, how are things going to work out there. But I still think that they have enough talent on that team that they can still really push for a Super Bowl. And then if we're looking at the flip side for the AFC, I think that it's probably two legitimate teams also, and it's the Bills and the Chiefs.
Yeah, you're still not putting the Baltimore in there.
No,
Oh,
I,
okay.
I, I just I just don't see it still. I think that they still have questions, when it comes to winning in the playoffs. We just
Yeah.
until Lamar goes on a run in the playoffs, it's going to be a lot of like what we saw with Peyton Manning, where
I
until
got
he
to see it
does
to
it,
believe it.
exactly, we can see you do so many great things throughout the regular season, but when it comes to the playoffs, we haven't seen it yet. You
Right.
haven't got there, and I need to see him progress and actually maybe at least make a Super Bowl and have a chance at winning before I can believe what's going to happen in
Yeah.
Baltimore.
Well, then you look at teams like last year, the high hopes of Houston, they're not there
Hmm.
yet as a legit contender. Cincinnati is blowing it right now because they're spending
Yeah,
all the money on the quarterbacks and wide receivers. Understandably
yeah,
so, they have some of the most talented ones, but you're seeing the
but
gaps that kind of
the
naturally come because of
defense,
that. So,
yeah.
all right, how about this? As you look at some of the major needs that are out there, is most of it you're seeing is not necessarily free agencies, but actually needs to be trades?
Yeah, because if you look at free agency, I mean, there's a lot of depth pieces. So if you're a team that just needs like a small depth player, I think there's still some really good ones out there that you could add depth to. Like if the Packers were to say sign a guy like Jadeveon Clowney, just because for depth reason, we know he's
Hmm.
not going to be the super disruptive edge rusher, but at least gives you some depth on the defensive inside. Even same thing, like I was talking with the Lions, going out and bringing in Zadarius Smith, someone that we know can put pressure on the quarterback. He's not going to be able to play every down because of his age and the injury history that he's had, but on third down, he's still going to be able to give you some pressure on the quarterback. I think that there's some decent depth out there, but I think that once we start getting more into the off season, one especially around was it the June whatever cut period, we're going to start seeing some better
Hmm.
names come out there, and so then we'll start seeing some, I think more shifts and teams going after players. But I think a lot of it is that if you're going to make a meaningful move right now, it's going to be on the trade market.
Yeah, no, I see that. And once you get post draft, now you're kind of looking at future
Hmm.
picks. And honestly, the
Yeah,
value of the future picks right now is, I would say, almost it doesn't have a cap to it because we don't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So we're always assuming the absolute best. So it's deals are going to be a lot slower. But if any of them do happen, that Tubby is going to have a quick thought. We'll have some thoughts on it. Maybe we'll agree. I
Hmm.
don't know. Maybe we won't. We're not agreeing on everything, is what we can tell today. Tubby, any final thoughts before we kind of sign off for the day?
No, I think I've kind of Said it all.
Okay. All right. Well, guys, that is the show. If you have not already, please consider subscribing. If not, just come hang out with us again. We'll be back again at the beginning of the week. Again, this will be a baseball episode at the beginning of the week. And then next week, about the same time, we're going to be back again with some more football updates. Who knows? Maybe we'll throw in some college football ones in there pretty soon. Might as
Yeah.
well. Because you know what? If it's May, July's around the corner, and that means there's probably, I think, another college football game coming out. And, we'll see what's new on the features.
Yeah.
Here's the number one feature I'm hoping for, and I don't think it'll ever happen. Let me build on my stadium. Like, let me go actually take a James Madison University and build up a
Yeah.
monster stadium. That would be sick.
Like MLB The Show where you can add to,
Yes,
renovate things.
yeah,
I
simple
got
things like that. Yeah, I would love that. But anyway, we appreciate you all. Thanks so much for supporting the show. We'll see y'all next time.
you. See ya.
See y'all.